Hi everyone, on the 30th of August to the 1st of September 2013 I competed in the Autumn Manchester Chess Federation Congress, so effectively my local congress, an event I've always done. This is the 4th time I've competed in it. The first time was my first ever congress when I won the Knights under 125, but the last 2 years, or 3 years if you include this one, I've been rated in under 165 with never really any success. I got a share of the grading prize last year because of my deflated grade, but the year before I only got 2.5. I got 3 last year, and that included a 4-point buy, Nf3 Bg4. So, and I was hoping this year to win it, especially given that the prize was now £300, and it wasn't particularly strong, in my opinion. I also got seeded for the first time, which should help. I was playing Matthew Parry of Nf3 ECF. I remember playing in the same match as him though, with I think it was WhiteElo Boys Bt3 Dog.uk, and I remember his converted FIDE being quite a lot higher than my FIDE, which meant it's probably been up to about nearly 150 standard, I think it is. So this is necessarily not a white banker, especially given that I'm a 151 and dropping, which is not good at all. But anyway, I decided I want to stick to these openings, so I opened with 1e4. See if my results improve. Got Sicilian defence, the dreaded Sicilian defence size. I played c3, and he played the line which I hate for. He's playing against the most annoying one which he seems to get all the time as well, which is d5. I still haven't had a single game with knight f6, and I always seem to get g6 a lot as well. So in this position, black is basically taking advantage of the fact that I've played c3, so if his queen comes into the centre I can't kick it. So take, queen takes, d4, knight f6, and a lot of these lines white ends up with an isolated pawn because black can take and give me one, but you get like a lot of activity in return, and that also clears the c3 square for the knight. Knight f3, bishop g4, and now the main line is to play bishop, oops not there, bishop e2 to break the pin. Black will like develop with castle, like take, e6, etc. Knight c3, and then like move the queen back to d8 or something. That's quite an interesting way of playing. The one I chose was to play d takes c5, which looks a very weird move. So what are the points behind it? The point is to give myself a queenside pawn majority, which will be useful in the upcoming endgame. Black has a few options. Brandon did a video on this, which can be seen on the channel. This one's quite bad because white just develops really fast. Then queen will go somewhere, then you play like knight a3 to b5, which is very good for white. A surprisingly bad one is to play bishop takes f3, which looks good doubling the white pawns and then take the queen. But I mean, white's got 2 sets of double pawns, but black's going to be a pawn down for nothing, and white also has a bishop pair. Say after e6 we play b4 to keep his pawn, and then we're just going to develop and use our 2 bishops. So my opponent played the correct move, queen takes d1, and actually white ends up doing a gambit in this line. So king takes d1, e5, threatening e4 winning the piece, but I can always play h3. But the point is after b4 to protect the pawn, and now I've got a 4-2 queenside majority. I can play b5 c6 at a later time. My opponent can actually win the pawn now, and he goes down the line e4, h3 forced, bishop h5, and after g4 black can do a trick which is reminiscent of the martial gambit in the semi-Slav. If we go back, another alternative which is very good is to play e takes f3, h takes g4, knight takes g4. Now white plays bishop b5 check. After say knight c6, swings across the check, bishop e7, and now g takes f3, knight takes f2, and king c2. And white is a lot better in this position. White's not a pawn down in this line, and white has got a very like nice queenside pawn majority, and his king safe as well, and black's knight is very out of play. So my opponent wins the pawn. Got to protect this guy. Now bishop d3. So I've got a few ideas of this move. One is I want to play bishop e4 and fork b7 and f3 pawns, then I get my pawn back. But the main plans in this position are that white is a pawn down and black also has a passed h pawn, which is the easy way to fly down the board, which is reminiscent of the poison pawn winnower in the French defence, my favourite line. White of course has his 42 queenside pawn majority, he's got good development, up and line towards black's king, even though it's an endgame, there's still most of the pieces on board, and good chance of regaining the pawn as well. This line is very double-edged, and it's good. It's quite good actually. It's very sharp, and I think it probably favours white slightly overall, but black certainly has his chances. The aim continued on a book line, but I forgot the book by this point, so I was making it up and conceiving a lot of time on the clock as well. But luckily the time control was 1 hour 20 minutes each, with 30 seconds extra added to the digital clock after every move, so it's very hard to lose on time. Knight c6. And now I decided to focus checking because I knew black's plan was to castle long. Say if I play the king move king c2 first, which is the move I want to play, I think black just castle, and I don't think I've got anything in this position, so I decided to throw this check in first. And I expected king d7, but he played the best move actually. He played bishop e7, and now I saw that if I played a move like knight c4 first before doing anything else, then he would just castle, and he's on my bishop. So I thought if I throw in king c2 first, if he castles long or short, I play b5 removing the defender of his e7 bishop, and white won a piece. And then I thought I was a bit worried I might start going with this pawn actually with h5. But I can play bishop e4, h4, and then if knight takes f3, and if h3, it's got the pawn down this far, then actually my rook can always come to h1 at the opportune moment, and I can get b5 and get some counterplay. But that was an interesting plan, and I know some players will try this against me, so I need to be prepared. You play king d7, again following the book. Now this is where I deviated from the book with move 16. I wasn't actually sure which square to put my knight on. I thought e4 and d6 are both viable, but it turns out c4 is stronger, and that's the move which has been played a couple of times before. I played knight e4, which is inferior. The point of knight c4 is maybe to reroute to, well actually just get the bishop into the game, say to e3 or something, which protects the c5 pawn, and then push b5 and overwhelm black with the queenside pawn majority. So black should consider getting some counterplay with h5. Bishop e3. h4. h4 is actually not good because it's b5. So black should play something like bishop e6 is the move given, and then to b5 and knight back to d8. And this is very interesting, this, because white's made some progress, but black's h pawn is still ready to run down the board. But I played the knight to the inferior square, and now my pawn could have played a very interesting move actually. He could have played a5 to nibble at my queen side. Whoops. Now the point is that I'd like to play a3, but because I've not developed my bishop yet, rather stupidly. Because of course I wanted to move the knight to develop my bishop. Then after a takes b4, I have to take it back with the c pawn, which is not so great. It allows stuff like bishop f6 for tempo and that. So I could probably have to push for b5. Then knight comes into e5, and the only move I've got to avoid him to give up my good bishop is bishop at f1, which just allows black the initiative. So that's not good. So far this is quite an interesting chance. But he played f5, which boosts my knight to g5, because if g3 didn't do anything. Now, actually he rejected this in post-mortem. I think black can actually just give his dark square bishop up. I know it looks pretty bad giving white two bishops in its open position, but that knight is actually probably my best piece, because it's going to come into d6 later in the game and cause a lot of havoc. And after just contesting the e-file, okay, white has two bishops and it's still the queenside pawn majority, but it's closer to his king, and that h pawn is still going to be very dangerous. He played bishop f6, which threatens a cheapo with knight takes b4 check, exploiting the pin. I looked briefly at king b3, but I didn't like the look of stuff like a5 trying to undermine my king. If b5, a4 check. And now if I go to c4, it's got 90. If I go to c4, it's got 95 check, so I've got to like go back to c2 again, and then he plays knight b4 anyway. Though actually this is fine, so I can play c takes b4, bishop takes a1, rook d1, lining up against his king. And the best move actually is to play king e7 and allow a draw by repetition. Because if the king goes anywhere else, we get stuff like c6 and with massive compensation. So that was viable, but I want to win, of course. I saw he's moved the rook out of the way on b1, but I still haven't solved the problem with my dark square bishop. It's still stuck in the box at move 18. It doesn't come out for a lot longer yet as well, which is not good. a6 was played to boot the knight, but this is not a good move. Instead, they should have just contested the e line. And black is fine in this position because I've practically got a take. Or if I can play rook d1, then he just moves his king out of the way. Then I can grab this pawn, but black gets all I can play after bishop e5. But mind you, that pawn was black's main asset, so black should use this rook. Again, rook d1, and then black should play. I'm actually like move his king, or I can take this guy actually. Yeah, move the king. That should be fine. So he played h6, now knight comes into f7 with tempo. And if rook h e8 in this position, then he's played rook d1. Or in fact, what I was going to play actually was bishop e3, just block the e file to stop exchanges to get a bishop out of the game. And then put the knight to d6 for tempo next. So he played rook h f8. Knight to d6. Now white's getting the better of things. Got this very nice octopus knight. Now bishop h4, which attacks the f2 pawn, which is actually very difficult to defend in the good way, because if I play bishop e3, he plays f4. But I played a very good move in this position. I played b5, which he said he underestimated. Now I thought he had to play knight d8, but he didn't like the look of this tactical shot. Knight takes b7, knight takes c6 check. But after king c7, c takes, king takes. This is nothing really. I found probably worse because now I've got to defend this pawn with bishop e3. I mean, luckily now f4 doesn't work because of bishop d4. But after somehow I bring the rook to the c file. I don't see what white's got in this position. Black's still got his plan of advanced his h pawn. But around this point I was actually starting to regret more not just regaining my pawn on f3, because now if f2 drops, that pawn's about to queen. But he played a catastrophic blunder with, because if he moves his knight anywhere else, I can actually just take on b7 and my c pawn, and b pawn will steamroll him before he can queen his f pawn. But he actually sacked the knight to bishop takes f2. And I was like, no, this cannot be right. So I take his knight with check. And now he has to play b takes c6. And then of course that still has rook b7 check. King d8, rook e7. And black is eventually getting mated. But he took the king, which is logical, so it's going to remove my c5 pawn. And in this position I have a forced checkmate. And if you want to try and spot it, please stop the video now. In this position, I missed bishop b5 check. Because I thought he just plays king takes c5 and then my knight drops, but actually I've just got this bishop a3 check. I completely missed that move. If king goes back to b6, I have the quiet but killing move rook e7. And the mate on b7 followed by, and it's mate on b7. Well, sorry, takes on b7, followed by bishop b4 mate. So let's say he plays nothing move. Then this is the threat. If he defends b7 in any way, then actually I'm threatening knight c4 mate, so you can't defend that both threats. Okay, so. And if he doesn't take the knight, if he goes back to c7, I have rook e7 check. Now wherever the king goes, it goes to d8. This is mate, If it goes to b8, then this is mate. And lastly, if his king runs into centre, I have c4 check, king takes c5, or king d4 can be played, and this is the move which is really difficult to spot. Either move is met by the quiet but crushing rook e6 check. You can actually mate with bishop b2 check, but that's a lot longer. So you can actually sort of mate with checks. And now this quiet but killing move, and there is no defence. It just cuts the king off, and the threat is bishop b2 mate. I think. No, it's not. It's still got king c8. The threat is actually another quiet move, I think, with bishop a3, and it's just very difficult to defend. In fact, it's impossible to defend. So yeah, I missed that stuff and played rook e7 instead, which I thought was a completely crushing move with stuff like Nd6 Bh4 next, but now he plays bishop takes c5, and I was horrified in this position. I was like, what have I done? Just lost. Because if knight takes b7, I thought knight takes b7 would win, but I forgot my rook's on Parry's. So I was completely shocked by this point. And I played rook b takes b7 in desperation, but actually still completely winning for white. And now I've got more threats I have, and in fact my opponent played a f4, but that only delays the mate. This is actually still a forced mate, which I of course missed again. My opponent played a move that holds on for the longest. If he grabs the knight, then I actually had seen I've got bishop b5 check. If king c5, I've got bishop e3, king d5 and c4, beautiful mate with a pawn. Just like playing English Open on move 27 then. And after king d5, which holds out the longest, I have c4 check. Ooh. C4 check. King d4 allows this mate. So the bishop actually finally gets developed on move 27 with decisive effect. And on king c5, I have bishop e3 check. Done it again. Bishop e3 check. King to b4, and now rook takes a7 is the quickest one. Threatening mate on a4, and if he takes, rook takes, and he can't stop rook a4 mate. Or if the simpler one is to play bishop d7 check, and now king takes c4 allows bishop e6 mate, and king a5 allows bishop d2 check, and now after bishop and king moves, got bishop e5 mate, and king a3 lastly allows, this is actually the most difficult one, this the move to actually make them two is beautiful, it's king b1, and there is no way to stop rook b3 mate because pawn a2 is not protected. It's actually a rook sack as well to win the king. So white's rook and 3 pawns down in an endgame, but the endgame's irrelevant and all black's connected past pawns at queenside because the end of the day, checkmate ends the game, as Nigel Shot would say. So yeah, I missed all that, not good. My opponent played f4. The point is to take the knight next move without allowing these bishop nasties. But again, if you want to try and spot the next force mate I missed, then please stop the video now. Well, I missed a quiet but killing move, knight c4. Again, just cutting the king off. What I need to learn is that when mating, you don't have to do it all with check, 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 check. Like say, in my play check, it might be checkmate. You can do it with quiet moves as well. And what does black do against the threats of bishop e4 check? If he plays bishop b6, which is the longest to cover c7, then bishop e4 check. King c5 is met by rook e5 check, sack the knight because bishop d3 is mate. And if king b5, we have knight d6 check, king a6, bishop d3, king a5, rook e5, king a4, bishop e5, king a5, and knight c4 is mate. Very nice mating combinations in this position. So we've got here. So king b5, knight d6. So we'll at king a6. With king a4, we have bishop c6 check, king a5, rook e5 check, and again king a6, bishop b5, king e5, knight c4. It's all very similar, these. King a5 is met by rook e5, and then after king a6 or king a3, the bishop mates, king a6, bishop c6, and king a6, we have bishop d3. And lastly, if king c5, then this is made in one move by bishop a3. Again, like the dark square bishop is finally developed with decisive effect. I played bishop b5 check, which is an absolute catastrophic blunder, because after king takes d6, all of a sudden I have no mate, I'm 3 pawns down, and his f pawn's back to queen. And this is reminiscent of my game against Manchester last year, where I was completely winning. I had several almost forced mates, like wind and material and everything. Instead I let my opponent's king escape, I was 3 pawns down, and his f pawn's back to queen. Just deja vu. And this time it's even worse, because I'm actually a lot higher rated than my opponent. And I played rook takes g7, might as well reduce it to 2 pawns, but now I've got no attack. And bishop f5 check, just practically kills me off straight away, but he played h5, but I've got nothing. I tried to check. King d5, tried this check, which didn't even do anything. King just runs now, Nigel Short style, can't do anything to stop it. So this is finally at move 29, I actually got my bishop into the game, and I put it back in its start square. What have I got against his dark square bishop? What's it ever done to me? And now king e2. Rook g5, didn't even do anything, he just played this to stop any of my hopes. And then f2. And I thought I could play rook g2 to delay the inevitable, but he just plays bishop e4, so time to throw in the towel. And I was a bit gutted when I found out I missed a forced mate, but to be honest, they were quite difficult to spot. But to lose from that position was a bit of a heartbreaker, the position I had, and also ends my chances of a chess check massively. If I've got to win like every game now to have any chance of a chess check. So yeah, I was gutted, but he was a very nice guy. It was good to meet him, and overall very interesting game to say. And who says the C3 Sicilian's boring, even when the queens are off? But I hope you enjoyed this game, and I hope you look at the rest of my series on the Manchester Congress, because this is certainly not the last exciting game I had. But for now, please leave any comments and thoughts. Thanks very much.